uh, discuss all these things. So today we have choose this topic particularly on on this. So our topic is social memory of indigenous community and historiography. As we all know, history is not just written in the textbook, but lived through song, dance, festival, and told by our elders, and what kind of struggles and resistance we have been through. So this is what we are call our social memory. And in this sense, because the indigenous community is historically uh, not just written in the textbook, uh, it lives in their dance, in their village meeting, in their stories, they're told by elders, and our struggle and resistance as well. But the long time mainstream historiography, if we look, has either ignored these memories or written by them only without us. So what kind of history we have been through, who are our heroes, they only just became our footnotes rather than become our uh, sole purpose of study. Along with that, our rebellion or our resistance also become just level as tribal unrest. So on this occasion, it's become very important to discuss all these questions like how do indigenous community preserve their memory, and how are their histories has been written, interpreted, and represented. So on this occasion, we have our speaker, Professor Bhangya Bhukya, who is present here. So he is going to reflect on upon on this. So I would like to request Hemant Dalpati to introduce our guest and start start this webinar. Hemant.
थैंक यू अजीत। तो हमारे बीच ये विषय पर विचार रखने के लिए जो प्रोफेसर उपस्थित हैं उनका नाम है भंगिया भुकिया, जो यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ हैदराबाद डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ हिस्ट्री के प्रोफेसर हैं। विश्वविद्यालय की आधिकारिक जानकारी के अनुसार उनका विशेषज्ञता क्षेत्र मॉडर्न इंडियन हिस्ट्री है और अनेक शोध का विषय केंद्र कम्युनिटी हिस्ट्री, नॉलेज, गवर्नमेंटली एंड स्टेट एंड नेशनलिज्म तथा सबल्टन कम्युनिटीज और फॉरेस्ट तथा हिल पीपुल की इतिहास पढ़ाई रही। प्रोफेसर भुकिया ने अपनी पीएचडी यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ वारविक यूके से की है। इससे पहले वह उस्मानिया यूनिवर्सिटी और द इंग्लिश एंड फॉरेन लैंग्वेज यूनिवर्सिटी में अध्यापना कर चुके हैं। वे स्कूल ऑफ ओरिएंटल एंड अफ्रीकन स्टडीज SOAS यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ लंदन में ब्रिटिश काउंसिल विजिटिंग फेलो भी रहे हैं। अनेक अकादमिक कार्य की एक विशेषता यह भी है कि वे इतिहास केवल सत्ता के केंद्र से देखने के बजाय पर स्थित समुदाय और उनकी अपनी ऐतिहासिक अनुभूतियों के माध्यम से देखने का प्रयास करते हैं। उनके महत्वपूर्ण पुस्तकों में सबजुगेटेड बोमार्स, द लंबाडास अंडर द रूल ऑफ निजाम्स, द रूट्स ऑफ द फेबेरी, ए हिस्ट्री ऑफ द गॉन्ड्स ऑफ डेक्कन इंडिया, हिस्ट्री ऑफ मॉडर्न तेलंगाना और एक कल्चरल हिस्ट्री ऑफ तेलंगाना शामिल है। विशेष रूप से लंबाडा और गौंड समुदाय पर उनका शोध इस बात को समझने में मदद करता है कि औपनिवेशिक शासन, राज्य की नीतियां, ज्ञान व्यवस्था और आधुनिक विकास की अवधारणाओं ने आदिवासी और अन्य वंचित समुदाय के जीवन तथा उनके सामाजिक पहचान की किस प्रकार प्रभावित किया है। लेकिन प्रोफेसर भुकिया के कार्य सबसे महत्वपूर्ण विशेषता मेरे विचार से केवल उनकी एकेडमिक अचीवमेंट नहीं है, उनकी विशेष रुचि उन समुदाय के इतिहास को समझने में है जिनकी आवाज मुख्यधारा के इतिहास लेखन में अक्सर कम दिखाई देता है। मैं प्रोफेसर मुखिया जी को अभी स्वागत करता हूं और बाकी सारे जितने साथी भी इधर जुड़े हैं सबको स्वागत करता हूं। और अजीत, ओवर टू अजीत।
So we are going to begin our lecture series, sir. So this will be around 45 to 1 hour. So if it is convenient for you, please continue.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
followed by some questions I will be taking.
Okay.
Over to you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ajit and Hemant and Sabiko Johar. Thank you so much for the invitation. Yeah. So I can't speak in Hindi. I know a little bit Hindi, but भाषण देने में तो थोड़ा दिक्कत होता है. तो I know I'm told there are some activists as well, but I'll be using very simple English and try to make some sense of history writing and social memory. As Ajit was saying, our history is considered as a myth, okay, or sometimes folklore. So when we say myth or folklore, it is simply biased or some kind of self construction. It is not objective history or real history or something. That's how it is treated. But from recent time, there is I can say considerable um, assertion of our history, both in public domain as well as in professional academic bodies as well. I can tell you, there are now number of young scholars coming from our communities, Adivasi communities. That is a very, very kind of a welcoming thing. We can't think of this some 10 years or 15 years back, but from 2000 or so, there is a increasing, kind of tendency towards Adivasi history and Adivasi literature. So to some extent, the credit goes back to the urban movement, after which Dalit studies and the Dalit question became very, very important. Okay, it made kind of a caste question as a kind of global issue. And after 90, as you know, there is a lot of literature coming from caste perspective and Dalit perspective. But unfortunately, the same line or the same tenor, Adivasi literature is not coming. It is only from recent time scholars from Adivasi communities are started coming, and all are very, very kind of vibrant. Okay, so like you have now this Mulnivasi literary society in Orissa. I came across a lot of such kind of societies, platforms, start organized by Adivasi communities across the India. Sometime back I interacted a similar group in Maharashtra, Gujarat. And, it's a really very, very interesting group. So I'll tell you my experience, how I started history writing and all that. But before that, I wanted to tell you how we have been constructed basically by the elites and dominants in both academic and public domain as well. So when we think of Adivasis, basically, what comes, particularly to the dominant or perception. Dominant perception is that these are naked people, half naked, always dancing, always drinking. These are the kinds of constructions and imagination about Adivasi communities. And many researchers, scholars from upper caste or caste Hindu society hold these views, perspectives, and do research on the kind of Adivasi communities, and they have been actually producing and reproducing these kinds of stereotypes, largely constructed during the kind of colonial period. Adivasis are uncivilized, primitive, barbarian kinds of stuff. And it is very disturbing to actually to see this kind of literature in the public domain. It is this actually made me to kind of uh, made me to actually seriously engage in Adivasi history. Particularly when I hear this tribe, we are reduced to this peripheries. I have discussed this in my book, The Roots of the Periphery, how we have been reduced or now pushed to fringes or now periphery, or say in the hills and forests. So it is not that we love to live in forests or something like that. We were forced, basically. I mean, historically, there were state-making process, and this process actually pushed the Adivasis towards the hills and forests. Let me tell you how this historical process happened. In any given society, you have three kinds of society. One is a settled peasant society, forest society, and nomadic society. And when state formation happened, that society becomes mainstream society. That is what they call. And as the mainstream society expanding towards the forest, these communities, forest communities, are going further and further deep into forest. The reason is this mainstream, so-called mainstream society, is normative society. I mean, it's a rule regulation based society. There is no submission in this. There is exploitation in this. And certain groups did not adjust with this kind of society, and they started parting away from this society. That's how it happened in history. So, in the Adivasi societies, strongly believes in self-rule and autonomy and freedom. It is these things actually made them to live in forest and hill. As you know, living or life in forest is not so easy. It's very rugged. You have to every day search for food. There is no water. Okay, and for small things, we have to walk long period, long distances. So all these difficulties are there, but still Adivasis living in these hard conditions because of their love for freedom, basically. But how our mainstream academia viewing us, constructing us is like we are outside the civilization. There is this whole debate on development. There is a debate on this civilization. Certain groups are civilized and certain are uncivilized. These are constructions. We are living in the same time. I mean, so you have Adivasis in this country from even if you go by the Puranic times, there are mentioning of Adivasi communities in Mahabharata, Ramayana, and medieval period accounts. So these communities are there from the very beginning of Indian civilization, and we are leading a parallel lifestyle, parallel civilization. Then they call that our civilization is primitive civilization, okay, and their civilization is advanced civilization. How can it be when you are living in the same time and space? Some society is civilized and some society is uncivilized. So this is basically a kind of stigma or a construction imposed on the Adivasi communities, and there is basically a big conspiracy behind this. So when British comes, these kinds of things become more and more vigorous, because these are things you find in colonial anthropology and ethnology. That's how they constructed these communities as primitive, barbarian, uncivilized, and all this. So there is serious problem with this kind of constructions that we must understand. And now our question, the issue is how to recover our past, how to reconstruct our past. That's the challenge before us today, because our history, our culture, our society are constructed in a very, very negative way. Okay, so they are doing this to basically deny self-rule to the Adivasis. Okay, freedom to Adivasis. Basically, Adivasis are freedom lovers. So what we are demanding from the particularly colonial period, basically freedom in their habitats, our small tiny villages. Jaipal Singh Munda also talks about republics. So when he say republics, it's basically in our Adivasi habitats, so we should have freedom and autonomy. Okay, we are not asking power in Delhi or in the respective states. So to deny, but modern state, colonial or post-colonial state, doesn't believe in collective rights of the communities. So the new notion of human rights were introduced. That's individual rights. So until UNO declared in 1994 the collective recognizing collective rights of the communities, Adivasi or indigenous communities' rights were not recognized. They were not treated as a independent communities. India was also part of this pact, but India then declared that now we don't have any indigenous community in our country. But who are the Adivasis who have been living in this land for centuries, ages, okay, completely outside the mainstream society? There were many invasions, many empires, but still Adivasis retained their autonomy and their habitats to some extent. Even now, there is kind of war on Adivasis. Okay, so and the Adivasis have been fighting. That we must understand. Okay, are tribal groups in Northeast India, or Central India, Western India, everywhere they are actually fighting back to the state. So this is also there. So whatever the state's understanding of Adivasis, but Adivasis are very clear and aware of their own history and their rights. That is why they have been ferociously fighting against the larger society. They are coming and saying you are one Nivasi, you are Janajati, you are scheduled tribe, whatever they say. But communities, Adivasi communities, identify with their own community, name, whatever they say. Of course, this term Adivasi became popular from 1920s, and we have been using because it's kind of politically assertive kind of word. So all activities activists are now using it. Okay, there was Adivasi Mahasabha based in Jharkhand, Orissa. Adivasi Sabha was very active even in Orissa as well, particularly the western part and districts. And at one point, Orissa, Bihar, present, Jharkhand was with Bihar. So Adivasi Mahasabha was actually very active in Orissa and Jharkhand as well. So that's how this term becomes a very popular and all that, and we have been to this. So one way of recovering our history is bringing our social memory. What I call intellectual history of the Adivasis. Of course, when I say this, my upper caste friends laugh at me. What do you mean by intellectual history? Now, for them, intellectual history means something like this Vedanta literature, Vedic literature, and the Buddhist philosophy, something. I mean, when it comes to modern period, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Vivekananda, they all constitute basically intellectual history of India. I tell them that we also have intellectual history. Our intellectual history is in form of songs, in form of ballads, in form of myth, in form of rumors, and our intellectual history is a very powerful. It is this history basically make the Adivasi communities to move on the everyday basis. So I mean, so we talk in academics agency, resilience. So from where this is coming? This is coming basically from our social memory, what we call intellectual history of the community. And now you can write history of these communities using this social memory. Till recently, thanks to postmodern thinkers, they who actually demystifies the sacredness of written, and they argued that both written and oral are equal. Okay, so this all goes around the question of bias and unbiased, what we call objectivity, subjectivity in social sciences. So if written is objective, then oral is also objective. I mean, so what is the guarantee that there is no subjectivity bias in written one? Because the written is also written by some human, and the human obviously have some kind of biases. So, and when a storyteller of Adivasi community, telling some origin myth, means almost every community in Adivasi communities, every group has their own origin stories. They have their about history, their culture. So everything is basically there may be some kind of romanticization and some kind of over emphasis, but it is the history. Okay. So when I started, my research, my first research was on Lambada community. Okay. So when I met my supervisor, he asked me, "Do you have sufficient sources on your?" I mean, so that's the thing. Basically, any supervisor asks, when we met them, meet them with our proposal. So they think that there is no written sources on our communities. This is a fact that we are hardly documented in historical documents. There would be some passing references here and there. So constructing our history is a serious challenge in a way. But our social memory is very, very strong and very, very helpful to write, reconstruct our history. I can tell you this with full confidence. I have done this. I have constructed a history of Lambadas as well as Gond community. So I do use archaeological sources, but wherever there is a scanty of archival sources. Wherever I wanted to bring community to tell their own version of history, I bring oral sources. So coming to my own research, so when I said when my supervisor asked this question, I told him that I don't know about the sources, but we have a lot of stories in our community because during the summer and in leisure time we sleep in the open air outside the house, and then somebody will narrate some story and all that. And in all social occasions, our storytellers come and tell us a lot of ballads, stories, and all that. So I narrated some of these stories to my supervisor. Many of the stories were basically around this caravan trade. Means transporting food grain and salt from one region to another region, and there are also stories they associating with the Sultanate army, Mughal army. They were basically supplying food grains and acting as luggage transporter to Mughal and Sultanate army as well. So then when I said these stories, my supervisor asked me, "You go and see, check the military records." So I went to India Office Library and then looked at military records of the East India Company. Then I found a lot of references of this community because they were actually acted as commissariat transporter. I mean, there was a kind of what we call agreed kind of there was some kind of not written agreements but oral kind of agreements between colonial state and the Lambada community. So they advance some money to this group, and the group go and procure food grains from various places and bring that to the army camps. So and a lot of money is also transactions were also involved in in this, but they were doing very honestly and all that. So, and I mean, so when I went back and then we started exploring forest department records, because they were basically with huge number of cattle going to forest areas and all that. So and then they were also declared as criminal tribes. Then I looked at the police department records. So I mean, so each community basically, many communities actually in Adivasi or no in India associated with the different crafts. So if you can start your research in these kinds of lines, taking some clues from their traditional occupations, then easily you can basically get sufficient sources on their history. So this social memory actually helps us a kind of window to enter into Adivasi histories. We have this very four powerful Gond kingdoms in central India. Okay, so I mean, so when actually my cutting interest in of course we were living side by side, but we don't know. I mean, so Gond ruled this part of India, central India. So there were four kingdoms, Garha and Kerala and Devgad and Chanda states. And when I mean, there were forts in our area also. I mean, so there, but we don't know when these forts were also going to belong to Gond, Rajas. So there were stories among the Gond community. And then I gradually, when I explored all these stories, and collected archival sources, I really amazed basically, that this community ruled this area, the present parts of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and Telangana areas. But unfortunately, you don't find any references or any credible description of this rajas or this part of, I mean, this kind of history in our mainstream history books. Okay, I mean, so all our history book are basically very much Gangetic Valley centric. Okay. So, so you have empire after empire. So whole history is viewed and centered around this empire, Mauryan Empire, Guptan Empire, and then Kanishkas. I mean, so there are many other empires, Sultanate and Mughals, and then British. So I mean, so in this kind of scenario, how to construct retrieve our history is again a challenge. So I interacted with some Gond friends, and they told me their long history. I mean, so actually these stories goes back to 8th century, 9th century AD. From there they try to narrate their history. There were a number of rajas who ruled these areas. There are so many ballads actually about them, and there were many songs actually, which described their rules and all that. So there are some anecdotes, kind of stuff. So all these are very very important actually to open up archival sources, and I did use them wherever there is a scanty sources. Okay. So now there is this kind of new methodology in social sciences called ethnohistories. So what is this ethnohistories? Basically, combining archival and oral sources, social memory basically. And you can write history of this subaltern Adivasi communities, so whose history has not been recorded in official documents. So we find some references in written, and then you have a lot of mythological story. I mean, so if you go and talk to any Adivasi community, they will tell you, bundles of things about the origin of. They start with the very origin of the world, how this earth was created, how God first origined, and then how first man basically came on this earth, and they and they how their actually clans or origined and established and all this. So among Gonds, there is this story of the lingo. I mean, so this story, very popular among the Gond community. There are this pradhans who basically tell this story to go in certain other communities. So these stories basically revolve around the lingo and origin of the Gond communities, but this also tells us about their struggle against the larger society, how they protected themselves from the invasions of the mainstream society, how they protected their culture and all that. So it's not just simply about their origin, but it also tells us how historically they retained their culture, protected their cultures from the advents and from the conquest of the mainstream society. So there is a way in which you actually bring these kinds of history together and tell a very systematic narrative about these communities. And when it comes to the modern time, there were a number of Adivasi revolts basically against the British. And how these revolts, movements, Adivasi movements are not described in mainstream history. They are just simply described as sporadic, spontaneous, and apolitical. Okay. So when you say sporadic, spontaneous, apolitical, you are basically dismissing the very agency of the Adivasi politics. You are dismissing ideological integrity to Adivasi politics. Okay, so mainstream movements are political, and Adivasis political movements are apolitical. That's how they are described. But if you go and talk to Adivasi communities, they tell you, volumes about their fight against the British. And let me also tell you this. This is only the Adivasis who stood like a rock against the British. And British, the only community whom they could not defeat in India is Adivasis. It was the our Sirdapur, Chotanagpur, Pahariyas who revolted against the Adivasis first. This was, when was this? This was in 1776. When if you take Plassey War as kind of starting point of the British rule in India, that was in 1756. So within 20 years, there was a revolt against the Adivasis. And they continued to fight with the Adivasis. throughout the their period, both company and British Raj. Even during the transfer of the power, believe me, Indian army was fighting with Pathans of Balochistan, another tribal group. So they could not actually, British could not defeat Adivasis in India. So that was the spirit of a fight of the Adivasis. But unfortunately, they were not given the kind of credit they're supposed to be given. Okay, so they're just you don't find any credible description in any mainstream books. Now, from recent time, as I said in the beginning, some Adivasis are coming and trying to retrieve history of their communities, but you hardly find anything about them. Even if it is written, it is completely distorted history. Okay, like I was saying, all colonial missionary, ethnographic kind of writings describe Adivasis as primitive, uncivilized, barbarian, childlike. These are the kinds of notions held by these writers, colonial time writers. And the same thing are reproduced basically, even in the post-colonial time. And particularly, when it comes to Adivasi movement, they hold this, that they are sporadic, spontaneous, and all that. Okay, apolitical. Okay, so when we see these, histories, so what we feel is like they all are done very deliberately. Okay, so there is a politics behind this kind of construction. They're not doing it just simply. Okay, and the politics is to deny freedom and self-rule to Adivasi communities. So once you say that you are not capable of handling your things yourself, so then this legitimize this that you need a helping hand, and they come and say that you need this, you need this program, this scheme, and all that. That's how all these development schemes are designed. British initially separated Adivasi areas from the mainstream society, put under separate role because you guys are separate. I mean, so we are separate, but not in the way British understood cause. Their separateness is we are like primitive, okay, not not in a position to understand modern politics. Okay, so you are not fit for the modern politics. These are the kinds of debates you basically see during the even constitutional assembly debates. Okay, when this 1935 Act was promulgated, there was a lot of debate on extending political rights, representation in assembly and central legislation for Adivasis. In the in central legislation, except Adivasis, almost all Indian social groups basically got representation, including women. There was a separate quota for women in the central legislation. Okay, The only community which did not have, any representation is Adivasis. So why the reason was that the Adivasis are not enough advanced to understand modern politics. Of course, they were given representation in the state provincial level. So we have reached to the provincial level, but not to the national level. Okay. And of course, against this also there was a lot of halla gulla resistant by all BRE Congress leaders, Orissa leaders. But there was like this movement against, I mean, all India social anti excluded and partially excluded areas. This movement was very active in Bihar and Orissa as well. Okay, Orissa was created as a separate province in, I think, 1936 from Bihar. So in Assam, Orissa Assembly also there was a lot of debate on this. Okay, so I mean, so the point I'm trying to make is this academic construction or social construction, whatever are there in circulation, floated by the dominants and elites, are not just simple constructions. They are designed kind of constructions by them to deny political rights to these communities. So one has to understand these politics. Otherwise, you just see as a kind of romantic things and all that. So there are stories about our migration, one place to another place. There are many artifacts in the community. Even paintings, our paintings on a wall. You can read a lot of history from this. There are these rumors. Okay, rumor basically create history. You have rumors about human sacrifices among the Khons. Believe me, somehow this rumor, spread so strong among the British officers. And some officers, those who were posted in Khond areas, they left India, literally run away from India. Okay, with, scaring or because of the these things. So the rumor was, if you are caught to Khonds, they will simply take you to their goddesses and sacrifice you. And this was very strong. And they tried to actually catch a live incident, but they couldn't catch any live things. So I mean, if somebody is missed, then I mean, so somebody when they are traveling in forest and all that, some animal must have attacked them and all that, eaten them. So, but the rumor is that they were sacrificed by these Adivasis to their goddesses. So that that's how. So this is basically a kind of rumor, but this was used in a way by the communities to put a check to outsiders movement. So because of you create some fear among them, and they that's how you protect yourself, because you cannot fight with their advanced weapons and all that. British state was coming with strong advanced armed forces. And if you see, most of our Birsa Munda, I can tell you, Komram Bhim from our area. So they spread a rumor that they have some mythical power. Even the British fire at them, if they raise their hand like that, all the bullets would turn into water. Okay, this is this may kind of look like kind of a stupid thing or no irrational and all that, but that is how they built confidence among their followers. Otherwise, no follower actually can follow them, okay, or join their movement. So, how this rumor playing very important role, basically, in their politics, you can understand and construct their histories. Okay, there are many ballads about whoever the heroes fighting against the cruel animals, or fighting against the outsiders. So and they tell volumes of history basically. Okay, these ballads, songs. Okay, so I mean, so there are songs about if you are doing environmental history. Okay, in Orissa, we have a lot of mango trees. So there are a lot of stories about the mangoes and a lot of stories about this jackfruits. So basically, these jackfruits grow only in the central India. Okay, and when they were migrated, taken to tea plantation to Assam areas, they also took this stories there, and they also planted these jackfruits there. So I mean, so you can understand the whole vegetation and environmental history of these communities. So there are many such. I'm just giving some tips, but like this, we can actually write history of this Adivasi communities using social memory. Okay, and now I mean, so there are many biographies are coming up, many literary things are coming up, like Adivasis will not dance. Okay, so such kind of experiences are coming. So these all would help us to understand actually history of the Adivasi communities. I think I'll stop here and wanted to take your questions so that we can have some discussion. Thank you so much, Ajit.
Thank you, Professor. It was very insightful, and I think there are so many people are here. I might believe they might have questions regarding all these things. So, whoever have any questions, please write in the comment box, or you can also speak by unmute your mic. This would be better.
Yeah, you can ask in Hindi. I can understand Hindi, but I can't reply in Hindi.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the floor is open. So whoever want to ask any question, please go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, thank you so much, Professor Bhangya Bhukya. Yeah, and it was a really wonderful talk actually. And I have been working in a paper called Cultural Memory from Dalit community from Odisha, and I have been struggling with this debates between cultural memory and political memory. So I have discussed this issue with a couple of my friends and talked about how cultural memory is different from political memory. So could we just give some insights on how we can approach cultural memory and political memory in two different ways, or is it the same thing?
Yeah, actually, you answered in the question itself. For Adivasis, it is the same. We cannot separate politics and culture. Okay, so culture and politics are very much embedded, together. When we are now fighting against the outsider, we are actually fighting to protect our culture. So the fight, even if you say politics, The politics is basically about culture. To protect what is our culture, culture of freedom, culture of autonomy, culture of self-determination. This is rooted deeply in the society itself. So you cannot separate them basically. Politics is very much embedded. That's why I was talking about this intellectual history. So this, which is preserved in forms of ballads, songs, rumors, myths. So what is this? This is basically politics. I mean, remembering things is a politics. Forgetting thing is a politics. I mean, it's a Adivasi communities. So many things must have happened. So many things are there. So the certain things they remember. Okay, because there's a politics in that. So remembering is a politics, forgetting is a politics, and the culture, basically it's a politics. It's nothing, something like politics different, culture is different. And if you take any kind of movement by the Adivasis, it is basically founded on the cultural elements of the community. Okay. What are the things used? It is the community songs, basically the songs style, the music, the drums, okay, the networking styles, okay. So everything is, the whole politics is built on the cultural forms of the community. It is not outside the things, okay, and it is completely different, yeah. So it is very much a part of the politics. Same is the case with the all the subaltern communities. Yeah, I don't know why Dalit communities separating it now, saying it something different. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's even I agree with your point. But the problem here is during my childhood, my uncle was BSP, these things, member, and he has been to different part of India talking about Mayavati and all those things. And when he come back to home, he tried to teach us in such a way that we should discard our cultural practices, that is beating the drum, especially. So now I have been wondering why we had to discard something that's our own, and why can't we own it and celebrate it? So, could you please just shed some light on this?
Yeah. So I mean, actually, there is a problem with the Dalit politics. See, unless you build a cultural movement, you cannot build a political movement. PSP has failed because it could not build cultural movement first. You take any movement, political movement in the world, okay? Say European movements, French Revolution. What is the foundation for French Revolution? It is the Renaissance philosophy, Reformation philosophy. Okay, that transforms into a political movement in 1789. Okay, so I mean, first there was a cultural movement. This was followed by political movement. That is how those countries sustain their political movement. So in India, I mean, say there were some social reform movement, and there is a cultural unity and kind of thing spread by the nationalist movement. So somehow a kind of oneness is constructed and built between the regions. Okay, today present regime may talk so many things, but if you read the history of Indian National Congress, and particularly the last phase, 46 period, the kinds of effort made by the national leaders is amazing. Okay, these people don't have any idea of what is India. Okay, they were not believing that India will be a kind of a nation. Savarkar was writing a letter to Travancore Raja to declare independent, not to join with the Indian Union. Okay, so and Hindu Mahasabha was actually writing this to Baroda Raja and many other Maratha Rajas not to join with the Indian Union. So they had no idea what would be India. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is there was a kind of cultural movement actually, as a part of national movement. That's how we could build some politics in the post independent India. So culture is basically very, very important for any political movement. BSP failed because it was just built on some slogan. I mean, हमारा वोट तुम्हारा राज नहीं चलेगा नहीं चलेगा. There is some kind of populist kind of movement. See, populist movement will last for very short period. Okay, after some time they will disappear because you don't have foundation. Now say there should be some philosophical foundation. Marxism, it is surviving, it is continuing because there is a strong cultural philosophical foundation to it. So without that, nothing actually can last for long. Yeah. Hope I tried to answer your question. Anything else?
Thank you so much, sir. I will ask later, like let others also ask you.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Any other question? Please come forward.
Ajit, let's listen to poet Ajit Bhukya.
Okay, sir. We have planned to listen one of the poet from Odisha. He's an Adivasi poet. After one or two poem, we'll continue other question answer. If you're okay.
Yeah, something. Deepika Kashyap wants to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, Deepika, please ask.
Dear all, Juhar. Professor, thank you so much for wonderful talk. As we are living in a digital world, and I work on indigenous community from Arunachal Pradesh. So I have a one curious question. When indigenous knowledge is digitized, who decide what become visible, searchable, and authoritative? It could be
Yeah,
the community, the institution, or the
yeah,
algorithm.
yeah. This is really interesting thing and very, very important. If you ask some question to AI and Google search, uh, give me a picture of indigenous people of India. It will give you some American Red Indian or something, some indigenous people, not basically Indian. So thing is like this word indigenous used to address the American, African, Australian, Canadian communities. So then the problem is Indian communities are not actually used to this. And I mean, describing use this indigenous word to describe Indian Adivasi communities. So that is what. So who is actually feeding in the data?
Yeah.
So it is the basically the computer literate people are doing it. Okay, so there is a politics there. So they are actually, I mean, so what if you ask AI, it will give you whatever data is available to at its hand. So obviously, you don't have any data about our community or about our practices in the AI. So it is very important to actually load put our data into AI on the website and networking. So that is how we can actually make our history more visible. So there is a need for digital archives of our Adivasi communities. So now there's caste archives, Dalit archives, gender archives, something like that. Actually, we have to start something like Adivasi indigenous archives, so that when you go on basically feeding all the data about these communities. And you can also do your language. Now you cannot translate something into our language because AI doesn't know our language. Okay, so if you can teach tribal Adivasi any community language to AI, after some time, if you ask AI, it will translate you from English to say Gond, English to some Kond. Okay, so it is possible. So now, I mean, so those who are at early age, if you can think a little louder and then do something like that, that's going to be miracle basically for the communities. You can actually develop a script once if you keep on feeding about your community culture and language, then anything you ask about your community, anyone can actually get a lot of information.
Thank you so much, sir, for the answer. And I am struggling from past 2 years with the AI, ChatGPT, Gemini to find out the indigenous image from Odisha or Arunachal Pradesh.
Yeah,
So,
it
yeah,
will show you somebody else picture.
yeah.
Mm.
So,
So there is a politics in
yeah.
this information technology revolution, whatever we are calling. So here also our history is excluded. Yeah.
Maybe in near future I will start the archive.
Yeah. And when they are digitalizing also, they are digitalizing, means in archives, they are digitalizing only important files.
Yes.
So important to whom? That is another politics. Important to the state. Who is important to the state? Obviously, dominant elites in the society, not the Adivasis of Kalahandi.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay, Ajit, I also have to leave. If no question is there, we think we can close.
Okay, if you I don't have any questions over, but I have one question, so we'll conclude with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So nowadays the term decolonization is used very loosely, particularly in the Indian context, if you say. So many academicians, researchers are mostly using society like in a society which is founded with the Brahminical and colonial ethos. So how do we think about the colonization in this context, particularly?
See, in a way, there is this concept of double colonization. So, to some extent, we can use this, and even subaltern studies project to some extent tried to address this, but they did not go into deep. Okay, they confined to only the Adivasi resistance against the colonial state. But this ideological colonization, basically, the colonization projects, I mean, so how, say, colonial modernity injected into the bodies of the Adivasis, they did not actually, unfold or explode those things. Okay, so colonial project, missionary projects were not simply kind of physical colonization. Okay, it is also mental, psychological colonization. So we all today got into modern education. We are got into modern state system and everything. We changed everything. So, what is the drive for our change? It's we are now basically injected all these things, right? But this is what is civilization. This is what is life is. This is what is the the your what you can say reaching point. So your travel should reach to this point, something like that. So and you all are pushed to this. So that's how it is. We and all other alternative ways are now closed. Okay. Once you go to the school, the teacher would tell you you have to do this, you have to read this, and all that. You are completely lost there. There is nothing like which can connect to your society or culture or your worldview. So everything is foreign, but you are forced to learn all those foreign things, and gradually you are what you are saying, like cut off from your society, your family, and your mind is completely filled with all foreign garbage. So this is what is happening. The project of modernity or colonial modernity or modernity as such is basically kind of a project, political project. So that's how one should understand. And then again, when we are saying colonization, so decolonization, whose knowledge you want to decolonize? Brahmanical knowledge. This today it is coming so powerfully, particularly in Adivasi areas. We are treated as no man's land because we were never in the any institutionalized religion, whether it is Hinduism or Christianity or anything. But now they are coming and saying you are Christian, you are Hindu, all these things. From where they are coming, these are the questions. So we have to think very, very seriously. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. So if there is no question, then we are going to wind up this program. Before that, I would like to request Subrat to give the board of thanks, and then we wind up. Subrat?
Hello, everyone. Sorry that my camera is not working actually.
Yeah, that's fine, Subrat. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for joining and share such a valuable um, narrative about the topic. And we are also grateful to all the participants and all those who uh, asked questions and make the session very relevant today. Yeah, I feel that this talk was all about reclaiming our indigeneity and the social memory of the indigenous culture, which is very necessary these days because not only the struggle for survival in the perspective of indigenous culture, the land, the water, the mines, the life, the culture, the indigenous people, indigenous culture is uh, struggling but never have given up fighting for it. So we'll hope we will take so many positives and also inspiration from this session, and we will uh, culture it in our lives, in our activism, and will help make the world a happy place and make the indigenous culture more and more strong. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much,
Thank you.
Mr. Bhukya. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Yeah.
coming. Yes, we're grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajit, Hemant. We'll be in touch, right?
Yeah, yes,
Hemant,
yes.
Ajit, visit us sometime. Let's see you.
Yeah, when I will get a time, I will meet you, sir.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
very soon.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.